Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And tonight on the show, it's only been a day and a half at San Diego Comic-Con, but we already have Star Wars news to discuss. So that's what we're going to be talking about on the show. Everything that's been revealed so far for Star Wars at San Diego Comic-Con 2025. My name is Chris, and joining me, it's my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. I have to say, this is the most unhappy I've been to be recording a show here in quite some time. And I do mean like literally here and not next to a pool, which is where I've been recorded this show every year for the last several years, because this is the first year, as I mentioned last week, this is the first year I'm not at San Diego Comic-Con since 2015. I know, single tier. Everybody is playing me a song of the world's smallest violin right now. But I'm missing it. I was really sad not to be there. I was seeing all the pictures out of San Diego yesterday and today. And then I was thinking about, as I sat down to do the show, like all the great shows that we've recorded, or all the great times that I've had recording the show just from next to the pool while you guys were elsewhere. Remember last year? We were all together last year. Yeah. The three of us, we were in that weird hotel room that Corey and I had that we booked because it was the only thing available at the last minute, and yet was somehow perfect for podcasting. It had like the perfect table. It had this like big window that we almost used as a backdrop, and then we couldn't make the lighting work, and so we just had the curtains closed, and it looked kind of dull and awkward. But there was a pool on the other side of those curtains,
and then we realized, maybe this isn't a bad idea to have people swimming in the background of our live podcast we're posting on the internet. Maybe a bad idea. Yeah, people don't love that, so we closed the curtains, and then the audio crapped out 5 minutes into the show. So all the 45 minutes we spent beforehand setting up everything was thrown out the window, and everybody just got to listen to the rest of the show with a crappy webcam quality audio while we still held microphones to maintain the image as if we were doing a real show. So all that to say, I miss Comic-Con. I wish I was there, but in absence, I look forward to talking about the stuff that has come out, which is pretty interesting and pretty good, and is just firing up my FOMO. So, it's gonna be a fun show. I'm so happy, very, very happy.
I think that show that we tried to do at Comic-Con last year, and then like earlier this year when I tried to do a fancy setup when I moved my set over here with the flag and everything. I think those two really bad experiences with audio is why I've given up on audio tech and why you only see me on my phone or on my laptop trusting the internal microphones, because I trust those things more than the fancy wires and microphones and headphones and like all these things. It's like there's so many things that could go wrong. It's too much for me. I've given up.
The pressure, the stress, it's just it's getting to you.
Yeah, it's just not worth it to me anymore. Also on the show, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? And hey, hang on a second. Look at this. Look, I got my badge. Look, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna wear my things and do the thing, you know how I used to like close my eyes when I would do shows? I do this. Sometimes I do this often too. I'm just gonna close my eyes for the rest of the show. I'm gonna wear my badge and I'm going to pretend I'm in San Diego. This is how I'm going to do the show from now on. So, hey, I'm in San Diego, denying reality.
Yeah, that's also why I'm drinking a beer in this episode, is because it makes me feel more like I'm at Comic-Con. Man, it's wild. I have to say, like, we'll talk about the Lucasfilm booth and all the reveals out of there. Of all the years to miss it, I feel like this one was like targeted for us specifically. Because it's the history of Lucasfilm animation. Like, I saw it as soon as I was thinking about it, I'm like, what's going to be the theme? Is it going to be Andor? Because like last year it was after Acolyte had just come out, so there's a bunch of Acolyte stuff out. It's like, okay, Andor just wrapped up. He put out a bunch of Andor stuff. I'm like, that'd be cool. I won't feel too bad about missing it. I've seen most of the Andor stuff over the years at shows and whatnot. And then I see that it's all animation themed, and there's like concept art from the Clone Wars and maquettes. There's maquettes from the Clone Wars on display
from all the shows.
I'm all this again to say, if you are there, Matthew, I'm very jealous.
Oh my gosh, yes. So we're gonna get to all that news real quick. We just want to remind everybody to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. You can super chat. You can become a channel member. You can subscribe if you're listening as well on YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any other podcast app. We got a link to our Discord in the description, so make sure you follow that over if you haven't joined our Discord. And after the show, make sure you're following us on social media. I'm sure there'll be lots of coverage from Comic-Con throughout the week on all of the different shows on our network. So make sure you tune into the Raeside, Ion Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractor Beam, and more. And as we mentioned, Ion Cannon's Matthew is at Comic-Con, so I'm sure there'll be some great content coming out of their show.
Yeah, definitely follow at the SWU and at CultureSlate for all his exploits and seeing what he's seeing.
Indeed.
There we go. All right, let's talk about the reveals out of Comic-Con. As we mentioned, the theme for the Lucasfilm booth this year is animation. There's stuff from Clone Wars, Rebels, the Bad Batch, the Tales series, Star Wars Resistance, a shocking amount of Star Wars Resistance material. There's more Star Wars Resistance material in this booth than I think we've seen since the show went off the air, which is nice to see, as well as some looks into the future. And that's where we'll start. 2 new images featured at the booth from Maul, Shadow Lord, and Ahsoka Season 2. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Maul, or do we want to start with Ahsoka?
Start with Maul.
Start with Maul. All right, so we'll start.
That was
Maul.
the first one that I saw.
Yeah, so Maul Shadow Lord, of course, new animated series coming next year from Lucasfilm Animation. Matt Michnovitz is the showrunner and head writer. Brad Rao from Bad Batch is supervising director. Set between episodes 3 and 4, following Darth Maul's exploits in the underworld. Got a new image of the show of Maul from the show, showing him. I mean, looking very much in the classic Darth Maul pose, double lightsaber out, red, sort of bathed in red and black light, and it's got his tunic open, so you can see the tattoos very prominently. Of course, Maul Shadow Lord was announced at Celebration back in April, where we saw a trailer, and I suspect most people saw some sort of bootleg version of the trailer. Have we actually talked about Maul Shadow Lord since it was announced? Really?
If we did, I was not. It was not in a week I was here, and we were traveling.
I think maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think maybe we had known about it because we did the show right as Celebration was kicking off with the thing. I think we knew a little bit of something at that point, but it really there was so much happening. There's so many it was just stacks and stacks and stacks of announcements. I don't think we ever actually dove deep into oh, this is happening, guys.
Yeah. Well, let's do that now because, as I said, this image is just sort of the classic Darth Maul image. Let's actually talk a little bit about Maul Shadow Lord as a concept, as a show, what we've seen of it. Officially in my case, and I'm going to guess unofficially in your cases. Ben, throw it to you first. What do you think of this show, what we've seen of it, what we've heard about it, just as a concept for the next major animated Star Wars project.
Yeah. So, and I will say it's starting to come back to me now. I know I talked about this somewhere, so I apologize if I'm going to repeat myself, but you're going to hear some of my same thoughts again. This is almost like a fever dream project. This is like a fan fiction-y of what if they did a Darth Maul animated series, like, and I think doing this, I think it's a very cool idea. I am very interested to see where they take this, because I think there have been attempts previously of, well, let's do a classic Star Wars story, but it's about a villain. It's an anti-hero story. We've had it with Battlefront 2 and Iden Versio story. We had it way back in Starkiller and The Force Unleashed. This idea of we're taking a character things, but in both those cases, the bad guys turned good and became heroes you could root for versus villains. I'm not saying that Maul can't have a character arc, but we know where he ends up. His story has kind of been told. We're seeing this as a very, a zoned in on section of his life. Sam Witwer, I think, confirmed this was about a year after Clone Wars. And he seems to be looking almost exactly like he did in the Siege of Mandalore. So that seems to track with everything we know. But now he has a due date. We have to see him in Solo. We have to see him in Rebels. Like there's a lot of story after that. What they can do here, and I don't want to give away any spoilers, but yeah, there's some other characters in this show that I'm very eager to learn more about. I think this will be more, obviously Maul is in the title. He will be the star, but I think maybe how other characters interact with Maul will be a key theme to this and how things. I'm very just intrigued by all this, and obviously, like, I think from the get-go, Maul's been an underutilized character. Even in Clone Wars, it was just like he's there and and there was these false starts, and I think he was very well used at points, but I think being the show was cut short, I think there was a lot of stuff there that could have been happening. So I think there's some ideas, and Sam Witwer also said that there was some stuff that Filoni and George worked out that they're going to explore in the show. So I'm very intrigued by that.
Yeah, there's a lot to be intrigued by, to be sure. Chris, what are your thoughts on Maul Shadow Lord overall, and this sweet image we've got up on the screen here of the Sith Lord himself?
I have a lot of positive things to say about this show based on what we saw of Maul in the Clone Wars, and I think it's going to be great. But it's all overshadowed by one thing, which is that this show has to address the Crimson Dawn stuff. Like,
yeah,
you can't just end Solo, the movie, with Maul at the end of the movie being revealed as orchestrating everything, and then not follow that up. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So the one thing that I'm a little bit nervous about is I'm nervous if they're going to address the Crimson Dawn plot line in this show, because I'm going to be pretty disappointed if they don't. I mean, I do really want to see Kira in animated form. I think that would be incredible, and I think it would be just a massive missed opportunity if they don't do that. So I'm nervous about that. I'm nervous they're not going to do it because it seems so obvious to me. But again, it's the animated universe. Everybody who's working on this is not related to the Solo production. They're related to the production of Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch and Resistance and all these things. And so I don't know, but even just talking about the follow-up to what we saw of Maul in the Clone Wars and how he's threaded through some other animated projects as well. I think it's amazing just because the villain-centric stories in the Star Wars animated universe have all been really amazing. The stuff with with Dathomir and Maul and Ventress and Savage Opress and the Clone Wars was some of the best parts of the Clone Wars. So I think it's really good that after focusing really on the heroes and the Bad Batch and Rebels, that they're having a show that's going to focus on the character arc of a villain. I think this is a very smart choice, especially when we only have a very limited anthology series and the Tales of that give us kind of shorter stories and shorter seasons. We haven't really gotten a full-on good cinematic villain arc, kind of like we used to get in the Clone Wars. And to have a whole show like that, I think it's going to make up for the many, many years of not having that. So from an animation perspective, this is very exciting. I just, that little thing that they teased at the end of Solo now has me thinking, like, are we going to see that or not? And I'm worried about it. And that's my only caveat to that excitement.
Yeah. I think at least the first season will likely deal with the origins of Crimson Dawn, because Ben, like Ben said, Whitworth has revealed the show's 1 year after Clone Wars, 1 year after Revenge of the Sith. So you're not going to get to Kira just yet. You're not going to get to that stuff just yet. Now, if we remember, it's either in the Siege of Mandalore or in Maul's like cameo in the Martez sisters arc, there is a hologram of Dryden Voss in season 7 of Clone Wars. So that character is certainly one that could be brought in. He seems to already be on Maul's radar. Crimson Dawn seems to be some sort of, evolution of the Shadow Collective that Maul was working on in the Clone Wars. So it feels like that stuff is just sort of ripe to be picked up on and continued in this show and played out through, at least the first season. One thing that would be interesting if they wanted to do it, and who knows if they do, but it would be interesting to almost treat this show a little bit like the second season of Andor, where, I'm not saying every 4 episodes or every 3 episodes you jump a year, but maybe every season you jump a few years down the line. Season 1 tells that story 1 year after Revenge of the Sith. We've gotten a lot of stories 1 year after Revenge of the Sith. We have a pretty good picture of what different parts of the galaxy look like. The Bad Batch gave us a really, really strong overview of what was going on the political scene and in the underworld to an extent. Maul can maybe give us a more direct look into the underworld, and then maybe jump 5 years for season 2. And then you can age up the characters a little bit. You can change the situation. Between Bad Batch and Obi-Wan Solo era of that time frame of the dark times, we don't know it. There aren't a ton of stories in there. We don't know too much what's going on. So, the beginning of the dark times and the end of the dark times are really fleshed out. The middle are kind of left a little bit open. So maybe you could jump ahead a little bit and play in there. And then for the later seasons, jump ahead and do a follow-up to Solo and explore what happens. How does Maul wind up exiled on Malachor? How does Kira wind up as the leader of Crimson Dawn the way she is in the comics? Like let's get to that stuff. Let's explore that. You've got this opportunity here. It doesn't seem like they're going that way in live action now that the amount of shows is being scaled back. We've got a sense of what the movies are for the next couple of years. There's not really a place to continue that story in live action. So do it here and do it big and do it exciting. And, hire Emilia Clarke to come back and play Kira for seasons 3 and 4 or something, do it that way and fill in that storyline that we were all so excited about leaving the theater on May 25th, 2018.
I'll continue to beat the Make Solo 2 happen drum for a very long time. I'm still would love to see that movie or TV show, whatever else. Like Lando's still out there apparently, so like we'll see how that pans out, or how it even addresses any of this. But I'm not gonna hold my breath for it, and I don't think the storytellers should have, especially if they have a plan for this. And I think there is a story there, obviously. Maul is there. He has to go from being kind of at the top of his game, being the head of this organization, to literally, an old man in a cave, on Malachor. very, very, very interesting how that goes, I think. And there's a lot of stuff too that I think you could tell that story largely from Maul's perspective, and then still down the line, if Lucasfilm comes to their senses and decides they want to make Solo 2 happen, you can still tell that story and not step on anybody's toes. So I don't know. I mean, I think Maul's end is pretty set in stone. But there's that whole middle section there leading up to where he shows up in Rebels that I think is very interesting. And I think, I mean, where else are you going to tell that story than in literally his own show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called Maul's Shadow Lord. Like that's the show. Tell us how this all goes down. One of my pet theories is still that if Solo had done better at the box office, we would have eventually gotten to a Darth Maul versus Boba Fett movie.
No.
Because like if you remember, like the day before or day after Solo opened, there was a story. It must have been the day before. There was a story in like Hollywood Reporter or something that James Mangold, who is now doing the Tales of the Jedi or Dawn of the Jedi story, he was going to direct a Boba Fett movie. And it seemed like it was going to be set in the same time period as Solo. There was likely going to be some sort of continuation of Han's story, either in that Boba Fett movie or in a Solo sequel or some other kind of spinoff. And all of it would have, eventually built up to some kind of clash with Darth Maul. And I always thought that a way that they could, end Maul's story in live action, but still leave that animated epilogue that we get in Rebels would be to have him, fight Boba Fett essentially and lose and wind up being exiled on Malachor, even though in Rebels it's sort of implied that Vader, Andor, and Inquisitor leaves him there, but you can always work around that. But we'll see. One thing. Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead. Jump in here.
No. You mentioning Vader just remember now. We don't need to get into this because a lot of other people have already speculated about this, but just the idea of the fact that Vader / Anakin and Maul never really cross paths is an interesting idea that I think this show could do very, very well, and it wouldn't be stepping on the toes of any other story. Like I think it has, and I think there's clearly a history because like Maul just disappears when Vader shows up on Malachor. He just kind of vanishes, and I think there's an implied of just like Maul's not going to stick around for this. He knows what's up, and he's not going to mess around with that. He's not going to do that again. So, what was the first time that happened?
Yeah. For as much as like a Darth Maul versus Boba Fett sort of feels like a very like fan servicey thing, not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, the ultimate fan service is Darth Maul versus Darth Vader.
Right.
I mean, how many pieces of fan art, how many, fan fictions and all that stuff have been written and drawn over the years doing that face off. And of course, like the outcome is obvious. Vader has to win. But they just delivered, go on one of those, big pieces of fan wish fulfillment with the Vader Obi-Wan rematch on the Kenobi show. So this doesn't seem like that far off.
No,
I don't love the idea of just like, we're just going to all this every couple of years, we're going to have a Star Wars show where we're like, what if this character fought Darth Vader? That kind of loses a little bit of its luster. I think you have to keep Vader a little bit special and off to the sidelines, and you can't just roll him out to face off against every other character. But that said, if I try and imagine myself in a situation where I'm writing the show, am I not at the very least considering that? If I'm Matt Michnovitz or Dave Filoni, Brad Rao, anybody else in that writing room, am I not at least pondering that idea that, in season 4, Vader and Maul are going to face off at some point? You kind of can't not at least consider it. One other thing about the show is the animation style. It is the Clone Wars animation style, but it's a little different, and you can get a little sense of this in this image. It's easier to glean the differences when you've seen the trailer in high quality. When you saw it at Celebration, much the Clone Wars style, but it's somewhat of an evolution of it. It's a little grittier. It's intentionally rougher. And when I say rougher, I don't mean like season 1 where everything is a little bit wooden. I mean, like everything feels a little volatile, feels like it might explode. And if you look at at Maul's lightsaber, that's probably the easiest place to spot it in this image. His lightsaber looks a little more Kylo Ren-ish than we're used to.
Yeah.
And that continues to the animated style of the show. That was something that stood out to me when I saw the trailer back at Celebration. And I don't think they're trying to do the Kylo Ren thing where the saber is, unstable. I think that's the style of the show because that extends out to the rest of the series and the rest of the animation. And this is something they've been doing with the Tales show where it's the Clone Wars style, but it's an evolution of it. I think the lighting in Tales is much more realistic, and it gives them more of a realistic vibe than Clone Wars. Clone Wars still, stuck to a more, it had an animated feel to it. Whereas sometimes you watch Tales and you're like, that feels like real sunlight almost. This isn't that, but it's a different like evolution of the Clone Wars style, which I think is good. The Clone Wars style is the best version of the Star Wars animation that they've done, as far as I'm concerned. But I like the idea that they're not necessarily sticking to it and that they're playing with it a little bit more and being open to, evolving it, if not changing it.
Yeah.
Is
and I
this,
think,
is this, oh, sorry, Ben, is this Joel Aaron coming back for lighting?
I don't know. I don't think we have that yet.
Because I think he's lit pretty much everything that's been animated. I think
that does. He liked one of our Blue Skies last night. That's the only thing I know about Joel Aaron and what he's up to recently. So take that as you will. In regards to Clone Wars, I think Clone Wars to me started out like we're gonna do this very stylized, and it kind of morphed into a very realistic style, which I think it looks beautiful. Like you look at Siege of Mandalore, it's gorgeous. Like it's some of the best animation you've ever seen in your life. But I'm really a proponent of just like, you have these, you had Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, you had Spider-Verse, these kind of pushing in the vein towards like it doesn't have to be realistic. It can be this very stylized thing. And I do hope that they push more into like, we're going to do this style. This show is going to look a certain way. And I think they've done that already. I think Bad Batch looks a certain way. Resistance looked a certain way. I think that was a great little kind of side tangent that they did there. And the Tales obviously have done this. So I think what I'm seeing so far from Maul Shadow Lord is looking to be like very unique, which is cool.
Yes. So to answer your question, Chris, Joel Aaron is back. Sam Witwer confirmed a bunch of the crew. I guess this must have been at Celebration. Stuart Lee, episodic director, is back. Joel Aaron is back. Keith Kellogg is back. Athena Portillo is back, and David Collins is back doing the sound. So you've got an all-star crew who have been working on Star Wars animated projects for a long time.
Wow.
Back working on this show. So pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully they drop the trailer online so everybody can see it in all its glory.
It's amazing to me.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it's amazing that they've gone so long without doing that.
Yeah.
Shocked.
The show is slated for a release next year. And it wouldn't shock me if we don't see it for like quite literally another 12 months. We don't know what the release schedule for next year is beyond Mando Grogu on the sort of Memorial Day weekend, but I can envision a world where it's nothing until May, nothing quote unquote until May. So the movie is the big thing in everybody's mind of the new next Star Wars. And then, maybe in the summer you get Ahsoka, and then in the fall you get this, or flip those two, vice versa. And for as late as they wait to release trailers now for the shows, especially the animated stuff, if the show's not coming out till October next year, August, July, if we're lucky, maybe not even till September. So it could be a while until we see anything. Now, that said, this show does have a trailer, and Ahsoka, even at Celebration, didn't have a trailer, didn't have anything. So maybe this would be next after the movie, but we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out next year as they start to give us a sense of what the release schedule is. Speaking of Ahsoka, shall we move into that to celebrate the fact that Star Wars animation that it has such a legacy, that characters from it are making the jump from animation to live action. There were around the booth, it seems like there's several places where they have kind of the side by side of the animated character with the live action character. And for Ezra, they dropped our first official still image from season 2 of Ahsoka. On some sort of, I'm going to say, rebel blockade runner, judging by the whiteness of the ship around him, in a blue jacket, looking every bit like Ezra Bridger. What do we think of this image? What do we think of him on in season 2? Our first look at season 2.
This is really incredible. I think it's difficult because Andor has spoiled us. Because Andor has taken Star Wars to heights it's never been to before, and a record amount of Emmy nominations and all this stuff. It's easy to forget that bar Andor, Ahsoka's like the top tier Star Wars on TV. Like, this is a very, very good show, and it's really exciting that they're coming back. They were the first season was just a setup. Like, I feel like this show is going to be like a many seasons show potentially, because they did not move that far into the plot in the first season, and Ezra, wasn't introduced towards the end of it. So I'm really excited to see more from Ezra and to see the plot of this show progress. This is really top S tier Star Wars here that we're going to be getting in about a year.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Like, I think watching season 1 and be like, wow, this guy really embodies that character. And now seeing like, oh, he's clean shaven, and he's like, like, I think the only thing missing here is like, people have pointed out, there's like, he's not wearing orange. We're used to seeing blue is not really his color. And it's kind of weird seeing in blue, but I like the blue. I like the blue jacket. It's very, and I love this outfit, and he like clean shaven. My God, he looks like Ezra. And it's just, it's great to see. I'm glad to see that he's going to be kind of more in his element, and a kind of true continuation of just like what if Ezra had come back, if he had continued on and not gone with Thrawn, what would he back? Well, now he's back. We get to see that story and see how he's going to fit into this new Republic, which is different for him and him catching up. He was one of my favorite parts of Ahsoka season 1. So like, just this picture is very exciting.
It brings warm feelings to my heart. First of all, just on the orange, that's one of those things that works as a cartoon. But you saw in season 1 the hologram where Sabine is watching the hologram of him, and it's clearly meant to be him from sort of season 4 era. That costume does not translate to live action well. That did not look good on him. And Iman can make just about anything look good. He couldn't make that. He couldn't make that costume look good on him. It works fine in the animation. It looks great on the cartoon. I love it in Rebels, but in live action it doesn't work so well. This looks like he looks like a sort of classic rebel rogue character, and I love that. What's going to be fascinating, right, is now that Ezra is back in the known galaxy, what role does he play in the New Republic? Obviously, he's coming from, a lot of years spent in a close geographic proximity to Thrawn. He is the person who beat Thrawn once before. So obviously he has some real insight into who this guy is. And so you can imagine him being part of the military campaign that Hera and Admiral Akbar and all those characters are going to lead against Thrawn. But that doesn't feel like enough for Ezra, right? Like in Rebels, Ezra's not a real like military strategist. He's not in, he's in some of the planning meetings, but that's not really his thing. He is, he's a Jedi in training. And I think it's pretty much safe to say whether he is formally a Jedi Knight or not, he is a Jedi Knight at this point. And so what's the next step in that journey? Well, Yoda says to Luke in Return of the Jedi, pass on what you have learned. And I feel like Ezra is somebody who can do that. We don't know what kind of role Luke might play in the future of the Mando verse. He's clearly on the board though, because he's shown up not once but twice. He showed up in of course season 2 finale of Mandalorian, and then in the Book of Boba Fett in one of the Mandalorian episodes. And then we haven't really seen him. He wasn't in season 3. He wasn't in Ahsoka. He wasn't in Skeleton Crew. He's kind of been off the board, and part of that, I wonder if it's because there's some concern about the conversation around AI and digital recreations of people has changed. I wonder if maybe Lucasfilm's a little bit gun shyer than they were in 2020 and 2021. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I wonder. But if we just imagine a world where you could just have these characters and you don't have to worry about the production realities of anything, Ezra Bridger coming back from literally another galaxy, having trained to be a Jedi, meeting Luke Skywalker as he begins to build his academy, builds his Jedi school. That's a pretty friggin' exciting concept and a pretty friggin' interesting to me. And I kind of hope that there's room for that in all of these stories that are going on, be it in this season, be it in a movie, be it in next season, somewhere in there.
And friendly reminder, Ezra Bridger, Luke Skywalker, exact same age, literally born on the, maybe a day apart, maybe. Because I know Ezra was like born on Empire Day. I get the feeling that maybe Luke and Leia were born like maybe 12 to 24 hours afterward, that maybe. But that's debatable. They're the same age. That's pretty cool. And I think, like, I don't know. I feel like we're obviously setting this up. Obviously, you're taking this story that's been established for so long, something that's been assumed for so long, that was told in different ways. I'm just like, okay, Luke would start a new Jedi temple after Return of the Jedi, before we saw the sequel trilogy. Before we even had books that were chronicling that, ad nauseum for years and years and years. That was the assumption. Now we get to see it. I feel like they are setting this up and throwing Ezra back to the mix, because like Ezra being out of the picture was just like, okay, well, he's safe from that, and it kind of tidies up the timeline and tidies up the story and lets Luke do his thing without any distractions from other Jedi. But now he's back in the picture. I think we need to know why. I think we need to have that question answered of why aren't Ahsoka and Ezra and Luke, why aren't they all hanging out together training Jedi? Why isn't that happening? And I'm not saying that as like a rhetorical question of just like, you Filoni, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, I think they have an opportunity here to be like, something happens. Obviously, something really bad happens at Luke's academy later on, I'm assuming. But that's a big lot going on there. And I think, what's the ultimate fate of Ezra Bridger? Where does he go? What happens to Ahsoka? Ahsoka is off the board. Maybe she stays at Meridia. That's possible. But I think there's some interesting story. There's interesting places the story could go, I think, which I think was really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if we forget what we know about the sequel trilogy, and I'm not doing this in like one of those like bullshit Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are going to erase the sequel trilogy ways. Like that's obviously not what's happening. Just look at season 3 of Mando. It's so much setup for episode 7. It's wonderful. But if we forget what we knew about the sequel trilogy and where Luke's temple ultimately winds up and what happens with that, if we were just continuing straight out of Return of the Jedi, we'd be saying like, okay, we're starting to put together the new Jedi Council. It'll be Luke, it'll be Ahsoka, it'll be Ezra, it'll be Sabine. Maybe you kind of go off the board and we redeem Jod and he could be on there. That would have been a very like expanded universe Legends kind of thing to happen. You start to like sort of fill out a Jedi Council like that. And in a way, like that feels like it's what should happen. But now we have to factor in what we do know about the sequel trilogy.
Right.
And that is that one night Ben Solo will destroy everything. And presumably he murders whatever Jedi are left alive. And from what we know about Dave Filoni, he's not letting his characters be killed off like that, off screen in somebody else's movie that he had nothing to do with.
Nope.
And 2, that would also just kind of suck. That would just suck. Like, we've spent so much time with Ezra and Ahsoka and Sabine and all of these characters for it to just be like, yeah, no, the Kylo killed them off screen and you didn't get to see it. That would suck. That would be awful. I would hate that so much. So that's obviously not what happens. So what does happen is the question.
Imagine the tension, though. Imagine if they hired George R.R. Martin to write this, and it's like the Jedi Academy massacre, Red Wedding, and all of the Force sensitive characters are there, and you just don't know who's going to make it out or not because there's this event horizon of they're not appearing after that. So imagine the tension of watching that and then the relief when certain ones survive. Something else.
I mean, some of these guys are gonna die. Someone's gonna die. And I hate to say it, I think Ezra's top of that list. Ooh. I don't want that to happen necessarily, but I feel like when we get to the climactic Dave Filoni movie and it comes time to face down Thrawn for the final time and win the day, there's always a sacrificial lamb. And Ezra feels like the most likely to go. His story feels the most complete. He can have kind of a heroic send-off, having, helped, Sabine and Grogu and everybody get to that point. It's either him or Din Djarin. One of the two of them, unfortunately, feels like the main character who will be a sacrificial lamb. Sabine goes back to Mandalore, can be sort of the Jedi Mandalorian ruler. Huzzah. Sounds fun. Jod, he can continue to be Jedi pirate. And Ahsoka, this is just like everybody's speculation, winds up in Mortis replacing the sister.
Well,
there you go.
What I was gonna say is this whole Mortis thing, it opens up a bit of kind of like a wrinkle in time or of such. So perhaps he can escape through that. I mean, they've already solved the problem of where was Ezra during the original trilogy by having him be on Peridia. So I'm wondering if they're going to once again, just like Filoni has done with Ahsoka time and time again, come up with some other place for him to be during other events that he should have been there to influence if he was close enough could get there.
Yeah, my question is, how many times can you do that?
With Ahsoka, it seems like it's been an infinite amount of time.
And yeah.
I mean, twice
and I
for
think,
him.
and I think it's gonna happen again with Ahsoka. Like, honestly, it feels like,
well, she's Gandalf, so she has to. She has to keep graduating.
And like, I truly think like Filoni is going to leave Ahsoka in some sort of like suspended plane of existence, like Mortis.
Yeah.
Where, future generations of heroes, be it Rey, be it the next generation after them, when they need guidance, can go to Ahsoka and she can be there to provide that bit of guidance. That feels like the most Filoni thing that's possible, but is also kind of cool and a good idea. Like, I'm not hating.
What if Balin becomes the father, and Ahsoka becomes the sister, and then Ezra becomes the brother son?
I feel like Balin's got to be the son, and Ahsoka's the daughter, because
so Ezra's the father.
Well, I think there's someone else who might be the father, someone who was offered that position once before and turned it down.
Interesting.
And whom we know is going to be in season 2.
That is true.
Anakin. I'm saying it's Anakin. if you
which would explain what he was doing during the sequels.
Yeah. Again, it leaves these characters kind of suspended, where you can bring them back if you want. And Hayden and Rosario, they're of an age that they can return to these characters periodically if you want them to, right? Like, how old are they? They're in the 40s. Like, they can play those characters for another 30 years if they want. Little makeup, little story reasoning. They look a little older. That's fine. We can have them around for a while.
They released a great star map on like StarWars.com recently, but
yeah,
I have not read every single piece of it because it would take me 3 weeks. Remind me where Peridia is exactly.
Well, it's in Peridia's another galaxy, right?
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Because you jump from the other place with the whales.
Yeah. So
presumably it's not even in the unknown regions. It is truly another section of space that we have no idea. It's not charted.
It's in the Milky Way. It's our galaxy. Yeah. We just haven't found it yet.
It's one galaxy over.
Well, see, so there's a lot of space to open up. They could open up a whole nother like lore there, and if Ezra could end up back there, they could have like a whole new Jedi Order that is started in another galaxy. Like they could do that.
Yeah, you can send him off. He could be an explorer, and he can go off and just explore other galaxies.
Would they dare to say a long time ago in another galaxy far, far away?
I mean, it's a galaxy far, far away. We didn't say it was the same one. Doesn't have to be the same one.
You have to say another.
Yeah. In another galaxy far, far away.
Definite article is, I don't know.
It feels
definite.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating to see. And it's like Ahsoka and Ezra essentially trade places at the end of season 1, right?
Yeah.
So Ahsoka's now left on Peridia to discover its secrets, and Ezra's back in our galaxy to face off with to help the face off with Thrawn. But
back in the Milky Way. Look
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad we're starting to see some things for season 2. One of my things with Lucasfilm is I always feel like they're just slightly too secretive. Like, obviously you got to protect the secrets. Obviously you don't want to put too much stuff out there too soon. But like this picture, like we just spent like 20 minutes dissecting this picture. You're telling me if you put out another picture next week of Hera in a similar setting, we wouldn't spend 20 minutes on what's Hera doing? Where's she at? Like, you can draw this stuff out. So I was really happy when I saw that they had this at Comic-Con. I was glad to see just a little bit more openness from them,
because ultimately it reveals nothing about the show.
Yeah.
We knew Ezra was going to be in it. We things like the biggest thing and like the most controversial thing about this is the fact that he shaved his beard and he's clean shaven now, and people debating about, do they like the beard? Do they not like having the beard? And I'm just like, yeah, this makes sense. He was a space hobo on Peridia. Now he's back, and he found a razor, and he's back to normal. So I think you could talk about, like, I think that's obviously, I know from a marketing perspective, like a trailer is going to break through more. I think us fans think, but I think even an image, I think really do. Like, this was like, this started making waves. People took pictures of it. And then next thing you know, this morning, Empire Magazine was posting it, and
everyone made their totally original and exclusive quote unquote graphics where they post on Instagram and Twitter and all that, and where they have their branding on it, but it's this picture and like a title that's really eye grabby.
Breaking news: first image of Jabba the Hutt from Ahsoka season 2.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Anytime one of these actors says something about the show, we'll talk about it a little bit, but they can't say anything. They never say anything interesting. And honestly, seeing that Ezra is clean shaven, wearing a cool blue jacket is way more interesting than anything any of them is going to say at this moment in time. Right.
Yeah.
Like if we had an interview with him on his Fundy, you'd just be like, oh, it's so great shooting Ahsoka season 2. I love all of my lightsaber training. I don't know. This is so much more exciting. I'd rather, I don't know, every couple of months just drop a new image honestly, and keep people talking. It's better to have us talking.
If he said, I love all my lightsaber training, I'd be like, oh, who is he going to fight with the lightsaber? Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but we saw him with it last season, so it's not that it's not that out of the realm of possibility. But even so, I know what you mean.
You're gonna need a new person to fight because,
yeah. I mean, you could fight stormtroopers, but that's pretty ordinary.
Why you need to train to fight.
Yeah.
Bolts.
Come up with something cool. So that's the big reveals at a Comic-Con. The other stuff at the booth is kind of fun, interesting things. There's some concept art, all of it from like Dave Filoni's sketchbook. We've got this one up here of some early sketches for Star Wars Resistance. You look at it and none of the characters are really all that recognizable except for the droid that wears the X-Wing pilot helmet. Bucket. Bucket, obviously an early concept. These early drawings of the Bad Batch are a little bit more, you can tell right away what they're going for. There's you can very clearly see like Hunter and Crosshair's armor did not change much from these basic sketches that Filoni was doing to where they wound up. And then some of these images from Rebels that they've got, like he's doing full scenes. Like this is just a shot from the show from the season 2 finale of Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra looking out at Malachor, and Dave just drew that in his notebook. I'm sure years before we ever saw it on screen, but that's just basically the shot, like almost exactly. It's crazy, and there's some storyboards and stuff that again is very, very similar to what we wound up seeing in the show. And it's obviously there's a lot of evolution to this stuff, but you don't these ideas they come from Filoni pretty early on, and they wind up looking pretty similar on the screen.
It's odd to think about how when Dave Filoni closes his eyes and thinks about Star Wars animation, he's seeing actual canon. Like that's amazing to think about.
Yeah, he's just Dave Filoni closes his eyes, starts daydreaming, and suddenly it's in the canon. Suddenly Pablo's making notes about it somewhere.
He's got future, because it's like you think of this a lot of times as like a collaboration of many different people, like the writers and the animators and the actors and directors. But seeing how close some of this is, it's amazing thinking that some of the stuff that we see on screen he saw in his head years before that. Like that, it's just amazing to think about that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Before we wrap up for this week, because that's really that's all there is. That's all there is news wise. We thought it's Comic-Con week. We've all been to Comic-Con. Why don't we do a little bit of Comic-Con story time? So, Ben, as the most recent Comic-Con attendee, tell us your favorite Comic-Con memory from last year.
I've got nothing. You put me on the spot and I've got nothing. I could think like an hour from now, I could have a million different stories. Like I think of these things constantly. I have shower thoughts, but now that I'm here, in the hot seat.
Yeah.
I can't think of a damn thing. I mean, I remember spending way too much time. Like it's stupid. It's stupid how much time I just stood in front of that Lucasfilm booth at Comic-Con. Like it just experiencing that. It's just like there's a screen right there. Like it's just like showing clips from the movies, but like seeing people and their reaction to walking by, they have no idea, and they're like, "Oh, look, Star Wars." I was like, "Yeah, Star Wars. It's pretty cool, right? It's pretty cool, like just being that guy." I mean, it was also just a pretty cool thing. I'm assuming it looks like it's in the same place that it was last year.
Oh, it's always in the same place.
Yeah, there you go. So it's meaning there's Mattel or something across the way, Hasbro's, I mean, like it's a nice little neighborhood there. It's very sad when you go, because it's like you get up in the morning and you're like, I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna go hang out in my favorite neighborhood. I'm gonna go hang out with all my people and just go to this place, and then it's gone. You're like, well, what do I do with my life? This is bad. I don't like this.
Someone once described San Diego Comic-Con to me as it's like a small town that you visit once a year, because like everything's in roughly the same space that it was the year before, but some things are different and some things are changed, and so you go around and you see what's new and what's different, and you see some familiar faces and some new faces and some different things. There is like a magic to it that only a long running event like that has. But Chris, you've been to...
wait, hang on a second. Sorry.
Ben remembered his story.
I got a quick story. I broke the law. Technically. So if you go through here and you go out into the thing, you go up the stairs and you turn immediately to the left, there's a door. It's an unmarked door. And I saw people coming in and out of there. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I go in there and it's just people hanging out in there. I'm like, oh, it's quiet. It's nice. There's seats. There's places to sit down. Because I sat down in other places. They're like, they act like you've committed murder or something like that. Like, get up. I'm like, I just want to sit down for a second. My feet hurt. So I went in there several times. I even took my family in there. I'm like, look at this place. This is great. I'm telling people in the group chat, like, this is fantastic. And then I hear later, I'm like, oh yeah, that was like the staff breaking. You're not supposed to go in there. that wasn't for you. And I'm like, nobody said, like, literally cops came in there. They're like, hi, how's it going? I'm like, oh, that's great. This is awesome. So I technically I broke the Comic-Con law.
Ben just went into the staff break room and he's like, this is the perfect place to sit down.
It wasn't marked. There was no sign.
You missed the big sign that said, keep out. Staff only.
Oh, man.
Incredible, Ben. I love that. I love that for you. Chris, you've been to many Comic-Con starting in 2014 and for several years in a row, and then kind of on and off again until last year. What do you have a sort of a standout Comic-Con memory?
There are obviously just some incredible moments, like the Star Wars concert that we got to go to, seeing Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher kiss each other on stage.
Yep.
Like there's some just like amazing moments. Given the opportunity, I'll talk about something that I may or may not have ever talked about on the show. I'm not sure. If I did, it would have been 11 years ago, which was kind of my first really great moment I ever had at Comic-Con, which was in 2014. And it was, I went to the Orphan Black panel. And this was back when, and they still do this to an extent, but this was back when everybody came out for Comic-Con. Like the full cast of every show came to Comic-Con.
Right. Yeah.
See your next year in television laid out in front of you from all the people. And so Tatiana Maslany was there. And then the actor who plays Felix was there as well. And there was a Q&A, because that was also something that happened a lot, was Q&As, where you got to talk to like Harrison Ford. It was amazing. But one of the audience members just mentioned how much the the show meant to them, to the actors, because of just the diversity of backgrounds of all the characters on the show. Because this was back in 2014. Like, at this point, we've gone through a whole cycle where shows have become a lot more diverse and have represented more. And then there's been like this cultural backlash to it. And now it's like, once again, a countercultural thing to do that. Like, we've been through a whole cycle, a couple cycles since 2014. But that was kind of the beginning of there being a lot more than just kind of like straight white people on TV back in 2014. And it was really an incredible moment seeing somebody become very emotional talking about how much the show meant to them, and then seeing the actors from the show be really emotional and their response. Like, I remember the actor for Felix was like tearing up a bit at it. And that was big for me because, like, you know, on the show, we talk about how great Star Wars is when they're inclusive with their casting and their characters. But where did that idea come from? Why do we actually bring that up in the first place? Like, it's not something that I necessarily was born to even think about. It goes back to moments like that, and actually realizing, oh wow, this is really important to people. And that's that kind of the underpinning behind, that critique or praise that I give to Star Wars and other things, is those moments like that of like realizing that real human connection where it just becomes real. It's no longer this idea of this faceless person sitting behind a screen watching any show. It's like literally you're seeing the person being affected, talking to the person who affected them. They're both getting emotional about it. And it's all happening in the room, and you're in the room. And then everybody's responding to that. Like, it was a very incredible moment. And it was probably like, if I had to pinpoint like 10 life-changing moments in just my personal like morality and ethics and philosophy, it would be one of them. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think what I'm hearing from both of you, and what I'm going to try and capture as best as I can, is there's a feeling to Comic-Con. We talk about it with Celebration a lot, and you find this at any event that you go to, any sort of Comic-Con, Fan Expo, that kind of thing that you wind up going to. But it's more pronounced at something like San Diego Comic-Con, I think, just because it is so big and so many people travel to be there. Is you get this feeling of like community, of people being together and being excited together. And that's the fun of these things, whether it's standing at the Lucasfilm booth, looking up at the screen and watching clips from Star Wars with people, whether it's hearing people tell the people that made the show how important the show is to them and why, while you're there also feeling that same feeling, whether it's for the same reason, a different reason, similar reason, what have you. And that's what's always been it's been kind of like intoxicating about the experience is that. And you feel it in big ways. You feel it at the Force Awakens panel in 2015 is like truly like a seminal like life experience for me, of just the excitement that was in that room leading up to that panel, and the excitement and how excited everybody was to see something from that movie. And then was lucky enough to like experience that again a few years later with the Clone Wars panel, when they announced that the Clone Wars was coming back. Went to that panel hoping for just kind of a fun time reflecting on Clone Wars, and to have it actually be this moment of like, oh no, there's going to be more, like this feeling that we're nostalgic for here. We're going to get more of it. And then you get it in smaller ways at the smaller panels, whether it's, books panels where they announce a new novel, or even at the Hasbro panel where they're like, guess what? We're finally making that figure that you've all wanted for years and years and years. And so, yeah, it's hard to sort of pick on like one memory, because it's more of a feeling than any one specific instance. And you get that over and over again every year whether you're there for Star Wars or anything else. I've been to a lot of the Doctor Who panels, and you get that same feeling of like, when right before Peter Capaldi left Doctor Who, it went to his panel there, and like there was this just like outpouring of love for him and his portrayal of that character. It was a big standing ovation for him at the end of the panel of like, thank you for being this character, for performing in that way. And at the top of the show is whining about not getting to walk around the booth and see all the artwork and everything. But that what I really miss is that feeling of like, we're all here for this together, and the people that are there can sense it. And one of my favorite moments of all was right before the Clone Wars panel in 2018. It was the second panel of the day, and they don't clear out the rooms between panels. So if you go into the panel, you can just stay there for the whole day if you want. So everybody in that room, just about, I'm going to say probably 90% of people in that room for the first panel were there just because they wanted to see the Clone Wars panel that was afterwards. And the panel that was on beforehand was a panel about a Blade Runner virtual reality game. And I remember the moderator just had to acknowledge the fact that it was a Star Wars audience that was there for the panel. I remember she got up there and she goes, "Hello, everybody. Wow, it's so great to see you all. I know there's a lot of fans of Han Solo out there today, but we really hope you're fans of Deckard too." And we got this panel, and everybody just sort of sat through it and politely enjoyed it. And then the Clone Wars panel came on. It was rocking. They announced the show was coming back. It was truly a surreal experience. And then as soon as that panel was over, promptly 100% of people exited that room because nobody was staying for what was next, because we were all there for Star Wars. But yeah, so it's a wondrous experience, and I hope everybody gets to experience it or something like it at some point in their life. But yeah, enjoy the rest of Comic-Con, everybody, if you're there, and go see George Lucas on Sunday. Don't miss that. It's going to be good. And I think that's where we can begin to wind things down, and we'll leave things for this week and start looking ahead to next week. I'm sure we'll have stuff from Comic-Con, the traditional Hasbro and publishing panels. We can get into all that stuff then, and we'll have a great time. But for this week, we'll begin to wrap things up.
Alrighty, thank you everybody so much for watching, for listening to the show. Hopefully a lot of you are at Comic-Con and listening to this next week. That would be incredible. If so, definitely go on Discord and share your experience at Comic-Con, because a lot of times you experience it through us. Now we need to experience it through you.
Yeah.
It's like we're all not here. This is the first time, as we've said, in 11 years that at least one of us is not there.
Yeah.
So we want to hear about what's going on. We want to hear about how that George Lucas panel goes. I'm so curious. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing moment to have that many people in a row when he walks in. I can't imagine the sound that is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a rock concert in there. It's going to be
start crowd surfing. Let's get George crowd surfing all the way to the back of Hall H.
Yeah, it's going to be as loud as when the Leafs win the Stanley Cup at home. That's what it's going to sound like. That it's going to sound like
someday.
That.
Someday. One day. Someday.
Yes. Incredible. But of course, we'll be back with another show next week. Until then, you can follow us on social media. Search for the SWU on your favorite social media app. Even that place, I think, although we don't really post much on it there, but you can follow us at least. You can at least add to our follower account, which is nice. To know that we're doing better than some of the people that are still over there, and it's not good that they're still over there. You know who you are. Tom, thank you so much for hosting this week.
It's my pleasure as always. This was a lot of fun to talk some Shadow Lord, talk some Ahsoka, talk some Comic-Con. That's like the big three as far as I'm concerned. As always, I'll remind folks to check out my Substack, dominicgjones.substack.com. Kind of accidentally took this week off just because I was busy and had other things going on, so I'm sorry. But we'll be back at it next week, so do check that out. dominicgjones.substack.com, aka Hoth Off the Press. And even though I'm not at Comic-Con this year, there's another big convention coming up next month in Toronto. It's Fan Expo Canada, and I'm going to have some very cool things happening there that I will share with you hopefully very, very soon. But I'm looking forward to that. So keep an eye out for that, and hopefully I'll see you at Fan Expo in about a month's time. But until then, we'll see everybody again in 7 days' time.
Amazing. You can follow Dominic on social media at DominicJ25. Ben, thank you for hosting as well.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Sorry. Get back. Okay. Yeah. So, yes, guys, it's been great. I'm going back to my hotel now. I'm going to go to bed really early tonight. I want to line up really, really early in the morning for Hall H. And no, I can't do this. Can't do it. Sorry. I can't deny reality.
God,
there's enough of that going around these days.
This time last year, we were sitting around a pool ordering Shake Shack. Just think.
Yep.
Don't remind me. Don't remind me. Okay, guys, those of you who are there, enjoy it. Know that we hate you. But enjoy it. Enjoy Comic-Con. We despise you. No.
That's like Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. He's just sitting there. I hate you.
Exactly. Obi-Wan went to Comic-Con without him. Yeah. That's why. The age-old thing. So if you're like me and you don't have anything going on tomorrow night, you can join us at the Star Wars Underworld Discord, where we're going to be playing Minecraft. So that thing I haven't played Minecraft in like 10 years. It's on my computer. So if I'm not on the podcast next week, you will know that I blew up my computer trying to play Minecraft. So tune in to find out.
Whatever the first thing you do, please move the key that drops what you have in your hand very far away from the keys that move you around. Because I've lost too many diamond swords in lava until I did. And it's the frustrating thing ever.
Don't dig straight down. Don't do it. Golden rule.
No, do not dig straight down. Do not. I can at bed.
When does Jack Black show up? That's what I need to know. When does Jack Black show up?
We'll have to recreate the chicken jockey scene. That's what we'll have to do tomorrow night.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. At Ben Hart with no E. That's where you can follow Ben's adventures. You can follow me at Seek3PO. Make sure you check out all the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network, including the Raeside, Iron Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy Tractor Beam, and more. And again, reminding you guys that Iron Cannon has a correspondent at Comic-Con, so they're going to have some fun shows coming up talking about that. So make sure you check that out right here on the Star Wars Underworld Network channel. And that link to go to that game night is on right here. Follow the Discord link. It's right in the show notes in the description right here. Thanks all our channel members. Thanks to all the people who super chat with us for keeping everything paid for so we can keep broadcasting to y'all. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe if you haven't on your way out. So thank you guys so much. We'll be back again soon. But until then, for Ben and Dom, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.